Hello, and welcome to this video edition of Kitchen Excellence Week 2022. I'm delighted to be joined today by Richard Grimsey, who is the Global Cold Beverage and Water Channel Manager at Marco Beverage Systems. Richard's here to chat about developments in the beverage market and provide some best practice advice about equipment management. Firstly, Richard, I thought it would be good to start off by getting some of your insight into the market at the moment. Have you seen a big change in the kind of beverage equipment solutions that customers are looking for since COVID?
Yeah, hi Andrew, and thank you for inviting us here today. Yeah, I'd say absolutely. I think since COVID hit and the time off, I think there's been a couple of things that have happened. Businesses have first of all kind of had a chance to actually sit and plan a bit more, and I think operators themselves have realised that with the changing world that we got now, they're looking to make life easier for their customers. And to do this, they're looking to reduce, the complexity and increase things like the efficiency and speed of service. And I think a second point to that is they're looking really for a pull factor to attract people back into accounts, into offices. So I think with that time to reflect and do more MPD, they're able to bring more products that people are looking for. I'll give you a good example for this. Some of the global organizations in their kitchens, their cafes now are starting to run barista courses and actually have, drip feed coffee in these office complexes, which I think is fantastic. But that probably goes across not just liquid dispense, drink dispense, but food offerings as well. So yeah, that's probably it.
Okay, so operators are naturally trying to manage their running costs at the moment, and that comes against the backdrop of rising energy prices. How is that impacting the market for water boilers and coffee brewing systems?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. And in fact, I looked at my bill earlier this morning, so I don't know if it's just businesses at the moment, but for us as Marco, in some ways it's a great opportunity. All businesses need to watch their energy very carefully because the costs are spiraling. Marco has been on a journey anyway to introduce more energy efficient components, products and systems. So if you take, for example, our mixed boiler, it's probably 70% more energy efficient than the next nearest boiler out there. When you start to look at the energy costs, one of the things that make up the costs are the capital equipment, the purchasing cost to bring that in, and then of course the life cycle costs of that product. And I think now people are actually looking at the whole life costs a lot more than just that capital cost, because obviously energy, when you start to add these things up and work it out, it makes a huge difference. I think the other side of things now is that we're looking at multiple dispense systems. So something like our hot, cold, sparkling freeze system as an example. You have the boiler, you have the cooler carbonator, and you have the font as a package. And by bringing these things together, you are actually looking at reducing the energy costs. Something like a kettle, for example, absolutely burns up the energy. Whereas in a boiler in the right setting will save a lot of money at the end of the day.
Marco has more than 40 years of design and manufacturing experience. You mentioned there about being on a journey in terms of energy efficiency. Would you say that energy efficiency is the #1 priority when it comes to new product development now?
It's certainly extremely important, possibly #1, but I think you've got sustainability, for example, that fits in there. Marco is on this journey now for the energy efficiency and sustainability. But we always have to remember, we have this philosophy, and it's called design thinking, and it's about delivering what's actually required, what's needed through interaction with our customers and customer bases there. So what we're finding, and that I guess is the critical part of it, is that is on their agenda, and that's what they're being driven by. It's that energy efficiency, but I think also now your environmental and social and governance gains. Something which has been talked about for as long as I've been in the business, 10, 15, 20 years. It's happening now. People are actually acting on this. So it's certainly one of our biggest drivers.
Yeah.
And then when you look at, sorry, I was just going to say one other thing. You look at things like the UN's 2030 sustainability goals and the EU 2050 climate goals. all companies, all people have to be driven that way, just to, otherwise we won't have a business, we won't have anybody to sell to at the end of the day.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Some of your answers there are quite pertinent to my next question, which is, what advice would you give to operators that are looking to invest in, water boilers, water dispensers, or coffee brewers this year?
Yeah, I get asked this so many times, particularly at shows as well. I think it's almost like you go back to the basics. It's, what do you really, really want? So I always remember my first marketing lecture I had, and it was wants and needs. And I just think it's so applicable here. So I would say is do your research. Do your research internally, understand what it is you need. For example, if it's a hot, cold, sparkling system for an office, how many people are in that office? How many people are going to be using that system? Because, ultimately you could have the most efficient boiler, but if you've got a boiler that's spec for a stadium in an office, you're wasting energy day in, day out. So I'd say make sure that you align your needs correctly. The second thing is, make sure the specifications are right. You don't need, for example, the top end if you're not going to be using all the systems and the features and benefits and the whiz bangs that go with that. So make sure it meets your requirements for that, and make sure it's specified correctly. It's one of the biggest things that people make a mistake on. So make sure it's specified correctly. And then going back to, I guess, our first question, one of the first questions we had here was just make sure you look at the whole life costs and the life expectancy, and look at it that way. Yeah,
a very important point. And when it comes to the life cost and just as importantly the life cycle of the equipment, how can operators extend that and make sure their beverage machines last for longer? Is it purely about the maintenance and cleaning regime that they adopt?
It is. I mean, I'd say first of all, it's have a look at that space that you're putting units into. Once again, across my my career, be it into kitchens, into pub gardens, into the pubs themselves, into offices. Make sure that you look at that space. Is it well ventilated, for example, or can you add the right ventilation? So that's probably the first thing. And then I'd say make sure that you do the correct kind of maintenance on there. Make sure that you've got a preventative program in there, so that you're doing, whether that's 6 monthly, 3 monthly, yearly. It depends on the equipment you're putting in there. For our equipment, if I could be a bit selfish here, make sure you have filtration units on there. It's an amazing amount of times you go out there and there's not a filter on before that goes into the boiler, and of course you're going to get scaling up there. And then the usual kind of clean and maintain, and if possible, record these things. So make sure that they do happen. We all know, it gets hectic in work and these things can often be missed, but regular cleaning, regular careful maintenance will keep those machines running optimally.
Sure. Just finally then, what's the main focus for Marco this year as a business? Can operators expect to see you adding to the portfolio in 2022?
Consistently. One of the great reasons I came to Marco was, the laser vision they've got in terms of looking at the marketplace and where we need to go with that. Marco's obviously one of the leaders in hot, and we're going to continue to innovate in that area as well, as such as the mixed boiler. But what we've been doing recently is also moving into the cold sector. I guess going back to what we said previously, they're all hand in hand and often multiple systems. So, for example, we've recently launched the poured system, which is a multi-dispense system. A dispense system that can do hot and cold through the same font. It can do tea and coffee. It can do lemonade. It can do many water infused drinks, for example. In fact, I'm trying to work out what it can't do at the moment. This is a product that can deliver up to 30%, 30-to-1 concentrations, all ready to drink. So that is something we've just recently launched, but we're working on various different iterations for that. Enormous potential. I think ultimately, though, we're looking at products that's going to help our customers reduce their wastage, and particularly single-use plastics, which most businesses are thankfully are doing now as well. When we look at our products, like I mentioned beforehand, with the design intent, it's about trying to get that versatility and flexibility into our products, so that they don't need to have as many products using as much space on a bar, in an office, in a kitchen, yet get the ability to deliver more flavors, more different types of products from that same system, while hopefully saving energy at the same time as well.